Hello, my journaling friends. Today is Bible journaling day. So we've got a little page going on here, as you can see. A lot of what we're going to work on tonight is here, and I want to leave you with inspiration tonight to see what you guys come up with. All right, so we're in chapter 5. We are going to start reading here in verse 6, but I will say it's not a huge section here from 1 to 21, but I'm just going to read parts. It's called Walk in Love. And really, anytime I'm reading like Galatians, Ephesians, Corinthians, I just laugh because I just look at all the things that, they're covering, and it's like, yep, obviously there were people that were crazy like we are. I mean, it's just so funny to me that as we read through this, especially being an adult and understanding life a little bit differently and all of that, like I would have never read this stuff the same, like, oh, that's for them. But I read it now and I'm like, man, we are so right there with them. Thank goodness that they had direction, right? They were getting this direction, and now these are things that we try to live by. So here, let's read starting in verse 11. Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. And I have to say, the verses before this are talking about some of those things, like do not become parents with them or partners with them. Wait a minute. Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of these things the wrath of God comes upon you. It talks about idolatry, coveting, crude joking, sexual immorality. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that they're talking about. So it says, take no part in all the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. For it is shameful even to speak of these things that they do in secret. But when anything is exposed by light, it becomes visible. For anything that becomes visible is light. Therefore it says, awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. Now, this is like, this sounds like a little pretty thing. Do you ever read something in the Bible, you're like, oh, that's so cute. This sounds like a quote. We would put this on something, right? We like this. But what are we talking about? We are not talking about like, this little light of mine. Like, it's a big deal. When you're talking about exposing things in the darkness, that's scary, friends. I don't know that I'm ready to expose all of the darkness that I might have in my life. And I'm not talking about like pre-saved by grace Monica. I'm talking about like right now, like the things that I struggle with, the things that I don't want to have to admit. I'd rather just keep it, like undercover a little bit, like hide under the bed sheets, and hopefully no one will notice, right? Or heaven forbid, somebody might know something about me that's, I mean, I gotta be honest with you. I'm a terrible crude joker. I'm just being honest here. I'm not always happy with who I am. I am happy with who I am. I'm not happy with what I do. There's things that I don't want people outside of my little circle to know about. I like to admit my weaknesses to someone I feel comfortable with, or I feel, and I don't think that what this is saying is like, get on, yeah, well, you're going to have to get interviewed by the news tonight. You're going to be on nightly news, and you're going to need to throw it all out there. I just think that what this looks like is not just exposing it to, to pull something out there and maybe have that accountability partner to say, hey, I got to get this off my chest. I got to talk about this. But it's also like, to me, just admitting it, just getting to a point where we can admit it and admit it to God. Isn't it funny how we just live in this world? Like, we live in this mindset. I mean, maybe not you guys, maybe you don't, but this is where I feel. I live in this standpoint of like, if I don't think it, if I don't say it, he won't hear me. But God already knows. He knew before I even made this stupid decision, right? Or I said this stupid thing. So that kills me because we still try to hide in darkness, but we cannot shine. We're not going to get the light of Christ in us to shine out if we don't admit it. That's where I feel like repentance is huge in this piece. That's what I'm saying. Arise, O sleeper. Awake, O sleeper, and rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. You were covered with grace. Get all that stuff out. Expose it. It has to come to light to be worked on. When it's kept in secret, we can do nothing with it. And except, who will do something with it? Satan will. When you're hiding that, to me, that's when Satan is going to be given too much power, because he's gonna sneak in there and try to like whisper little doubts in your mind, because you haven't even admitted it yourself. I'm just thinking about my own self. I think there's times when I've kept something I haven't wanted to talk about. I haven't wanted to admit that. That's when I start to see that temptation sneaking in of just him using it against me. So let's talk about this. What does this look like? Well, to me, arise, O sleeper, awake from. To me, this is like a bedroom. So that's what I got out of this. Now you might be inspired in a totally different way, and I'm going to tell you something. I am only going to be doing this word arise because I have things I need to journal. Like I need things to I have things that I personally need to write down. This spoke to my heart because I've been there. And I'm getting better. I'm getting better at being able to repent, to be able to step back, to maybe ask someone, or to say, hey, I'm in a bad place right now, or I'm really screwed up. But I wanted to have that space. So this is going to be totally up to you. You could rewrite this verse. You could take a couple different, sections of it, but I'm just going to focus on this word arise. So let's go ahead and start with what these letters look like. A lot of that is, taking like the first letter. I'll write in pen. I have the word arise, and I started with kind of curving the letters into each other. So they're very rounded, and we are doing a block letter. So the A just kind of looked like that. And I'm doing this in pen, but remember, when I do something in pen here on screen, really this would be like your pencil. So I'm kind of bringing one end down a little further. It's a very skinny kind of whimsical horseshoe shape. And I'm dropping that X line. We've talked about this before. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But the X line is kind of like where you have the lines crossing your letters. So if we drop it down, it gives it a little bit more of a fun, dramatic fit. Now, when I look at the rest of these words, what I'm thinking about is how do I kind of puzzle piece them together? And the cool thing is these letters have kind of a curve to them. So like the R, for instance, I may curve it a little bit here, so it kind of fits within the A. And maybe I'll just give it a little tiny nub. I wouldn't want these connecting pieces. We'll be coloring this in when I get it to the Bible. But this is for practice. But then I've got this I. Well, now I've got a space here. I can kind of have some fun with it. I can bring it in, and I'm going to let this kind of hang out here. And it works great if I curve it in here with the R, because when I bring my S in, look at that. It's going to curve right up in there. Fun, right? So really just think like a puzzle piece. Like, where would this next letter, if I was really dramatic with my next letter, where can I squeeze it in? So with the E, I wouldn't want it to just be squared next to it because there's all these weird spaces. So let's give it some curve. However it fits for you. Just give it a little personality by using curved lines instead of just perfectly straight ones. So these letters kind of fit together, and it's almost like they're little puzzle pieces working. And a lot of times there isn't a plan here. You wouldn't start with a plan, you'd start with a letter. Get inspired by something that has a little curve, a little whimsy, it's something that's not so perfect. And your letters could change each time you wrote them. So if I had another E that had to go here, I might curve it out a different direction. Okay, so, or let's say like an R. Well, maybe on the last end, let's just do that. Or riser. It doesn't make any sense, but we're going to just do it. So maybe if I wanted to do a capital R, I could come in like that and finish it up. And be like a totally, totally different letter. I'll do the same thing that I did on the A there. So you see what I'm saying? Have fun with lettering. They don't all have to look the same. They don't even have to look the same in the same word. They can be switched up. So just, I think sometimes it's about having that practice doing, first of all, block lettering. And the second thing is being able to be okay to not have a plan, but instead just to try it. So that's kind of what I've done here. And I did use this hollow block letter, which is a super huge fave for me. And why is that? Why is it? Well, it's because it leaves us with great amounts of potential. We can color it in, we can shade it, we can put some sort of a design or decoration within the shape. And in this case, I'm actually going to do some shadowing. So I've got my Tombows here. When we get to this point and we really want to make this pop, we want to create a little bit of a shaded border, a shadow. And the way that we do this, I've talked about this rule before, so I'll write it down for those of you that might be new to us right now, because I do know there's a couple of you that are kind of new to the Bright Bible. When you have a letter like this, the letter has a top, a bottom, a right, and a left. And when you're shading, you're going to choose one of these combinations. Okay? So either all left sides and all bottoms, that would be one, all right side or bottoms, left or top, right or top. So that's how this works. And as long as you do that, you'll end up having a really good effect. So I'm going to do kind of like the top and left. That's probably my go-to favorite. And I'm using a lighter pencil or a lighter marker than what I'm going to use to color it in. So I've now done the left side of every letter, and now I'm going to hit the top right like that. And I had already kind of done that on the curve. So there is the first. Top, left, little top, left, and we just keep that same pattern up. And there are letters that you're going to have to really think about. Is it showing the top? Or is it showing, you know, is it like on a curve? That's sometimes tricky. So here on the S, I'm going to go here. I'll stay here. But as soon as I kind of get to the curve, I have to think about, is it a strong curve? Does it tuck under? This one, I think we're okay. There we go. When you start to do like left and right or top and bottom, you lose the effect of the standout. And that's what we really, really wanted to go with. Okay, so the shading is here. Sometimes I do that. I will do the shading first and then do the coloring. And I wanted to do this because really I wanted to use colored pencils, which I guess it doesn't really matter which way you go. But I was kind of thinking I'm going to use some brighter colored pencils here and do this arise word. Okay, so I'm going to start orange, probably this orange at the top. Just some bright, warm colors, whatever you want. You could use really anything. You could even color it just plain black and just have the shadow be your only color. That works too. But I'm kind of thinking I just want to stick with some of the same warm tones. Might be like too similar. We'll see how this works. And I'm using 3 values. The values just means I'm kind of in the same ballpark on the color wheel, same area, but 3 different tones. And as I'm coloring them out here, I'm blending over them. This section I'm going to just kind of even go back and hit a little more. Okay? I'm drawing this in as I talk, but I'm going to show you how to do it in just a second. Okay, I have just simple stencil. It's a circle. Whatever circle fits your needs. I'm going to show you a little bit about how I would draw out my alarm clock. But for this alarm clock, it's a really fun feature because I love that it's an old school. It's an old school. So I'm going to just go ahead and trace around this. I love using washi tape as well for my circles, and you might even have a stencil. So do that circle, and you're going to just come on in here with a second circle, and that is going to be your, oops, I got to keep this on here, your second ring, kind of your border. Of course, you could use another stencil. I'm not going to care right now because I'm just showing you how to go through the steps. difficult, right? The slammer, I like it. Yes, the slammer. Hopefully it pops back up a couple times, because I'm definitely one of those, like, set it 3 times earlier than necessary so I can push snooze multiple times. That's definitely me. All right, now we're going to start with 2, what are these shapes? Half moons. Not a crescent, but like a half a circle. That's what I should say, half a circle. And then all you're going to do from here is give yourself a little area where you're going to put your handle and slide to the left, slide to the right, put a little knob, and then you can do this to make it look like they're ringing if you want to. This handle looks a little funky, so I'm going to fix it for a second here. It got a little bit wonky. There we go. That little bar across comes down. Bada boom, bada bing. So there's your alarm clock, and it's kind of a little retro alarm clock. I really love it. Through the back, and then a second line, same horizontal here, okay? And we're going to angle the sides. Now you'll know if it's wrong, like if it's weird, you'll know. You'll see it, and all you have to do is just either adjust your angle or make your line shorter. But that's not too bad. I feel like that's pretty good. All right, so that is like the top of this. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm getting too close. That is the top of whatever it's sitting on. Now you can have so much fun drawing in your little nightstand. I'm going to just do a boring little box. And then if you want to put, you know, like a little drawer set in there, you just do some little rectangles here. Maybe I've got the cabinet that opens up down here. You can draw those simple shapes in there. Put some little pulls somewhere on there. You could just have fun with it. Just make yourself a little nightstand. So you can see how if you don't have, this is like, I'm really determined that anytime I'm in my interleaved Bible like this, which I love, and I talk about how much I love it all the time, to do the full art page, right? And with writing, I'm going to do some writing on my page. But if you didn't, you can see how using this as your main image with the word arise could make a perfect margin. So hopefully that is inspiring to you tonight to think about not only what you might need to expose, what you might need to pray about or bring to the surface, because guys, we want to shine. We want to shine for Him. And so let's let that light of Christ come through us, because we've brought out of the darkness whatever we've been hiding. So I just have that is my prayer for all of you watching tonight, all of you that will be watching our replay. I hope that this imagery was fun to explore and that you had a great time learning about shadowing and just some fun whimsical letters. So thank you guys. We'll see you guys very soon.